Am I still bullish on the markets overall? Absolutely. We'll do some high time frame analysis. We've kind of had this basically, ETF price appreciation. Everyone knew that the ETF was going to get approved. Price appreciated massively. So is it over now, right? Are we going to get some sort of pullback before further highs? I think this is the first kind of really big pullback we've had in a little while, right? I mean, we've had 8 green weekly candles in a row. That can't be nonstop forever. But I'm going to give you guys my thoughts on the markets. We'll kind of just go from there, right? That's what you're here for. You're here for my opinion, my takes, what I'm doing with my money, what you do with your money. That's up to you, my friend. There's kind of 2 main things I want to cover today. I want to look at the charts, obviously, and then I want to talk about a concept that you're kind of seeing playing out right now with TIA, INJ, AVAX, certain coins that are rallying extremely hard, and how you can maximize your dip buying or your trades based on this type of information. So we'll start with the charts, and then we'll get into that kind of concept a little later here. And I'm going to go through, I got a bunch of different altcoins we can look at here. So, I mean, from a high time frame perspective, I don't think anything has changed. Yeah, we have a little bit of a wick here. I still think price eventually trades to here, and then, probably all-time high sooner than later. Kind of from a high time frame, really, the question is, where do we go first? Is it above here or is it down here, right? Because there's a chance that, we take out the high here and then have a pullback, but then is this pullback too significant, right? So from where we're at right now, 41.5, a 20% pullback from here would put us kind of back into this zone here, low 30s, kind of high 20s. This could happen, but I'm of the mindset, very simply, if we were to come back to this area, you want to be a buyer. Maybe we dip lower. Maybe we come and we tag this thing here, right? Like maybe this is where we dip to. Regardless, high time frame, if we dip to any of these areas here, right back into this kind of support zone, I'd be a buyer, okay? This is high time frame. We're going to get into the leverage trading in a bit. But a reason for talking about the high time frame is different from the low time frame, right? If you're in spot and you got buys from the lows into this consolidation and you're just riding this trend, that dump doesn't scare you really, right? If you're in Ethereum from 1500, 1800, if you're in Bitcoin from sub 30, not really worried. Now, if you're in levered longs, guess what? Shitting your pants when you see this happen. Probably getting liquidated or your positions are getting stopped out. While the concepts are the same, high time frame trading, low time frame trading, the concepts that you apply are the same. You still need to use risk management, do your TA and all that fucking shit. Spot trading and leverage trading, in my opinion, are very different in that leverage, it's not as easy to handle, especially if you're over levered, which the majority of you probably are. You can get wiped out on those kind of moves, right? Which can be very frustrating. So you could be right in that price is going to be higher 3 months from now than it is today, but you could lose money because you were trying to trade it with leverage. Whereas if you're just holding spot, you don't really have that same risk. That being said, high time frame, I still think looks good. I still think we eventually are going to trade out to this level. Are we going to get some sort of pullback here first? Maybe. I genuinely don't know. I do think that this move is, this is the 4th green monthly in a row. Whether we go higher or not, I'm unsure of from a high time frame perspective. I'm confident that we end up, doing one of these. The question is do we pull back from here and then go up? Do we trade a little higher and then the pullback is a little shallower? I don't know yet. Can't really tell from the monthly. There's not really much going on there. All I can say from the monthly is if we come back anywhere to this area here, that's a buy. That's an easy clap buy because to me, the risk reward is super good here. So if we come anywhere towards 30K, even a little lower, right? If we come anywhere in this area here, let's just call it 30K. To me, even with stops at new lows, you're 2.5 your money just to all-time high and will likely extend past all-time high. And if you have a more aggressive stop, it starts to become a much better multiple. The problem with this is Bitcoin's very expensive and the price appreciation is capped at that, right? Like unless you have a relatively big stack, longing Bitcoin from 30K to 60K is not going to make you rich. Like unless you're putting millions of dollars into it, so there's guys like Donald and other guys who can say, okay, I just want to buy spot Bitcoin here and I'll sell it at a new all-time high. Well, that works if you have millions of dollars. I have a feeling the majority of you do not. And I'm not calling you poor. Well, I am calling you poor, but not in a mean way. I'm just saying, some of you, this may be your first cycle. This may be your second cycle and now you kind of know what you're doing, but you don't have the huge stack yet. And you want to take that 4-figure, 5-figure, maybe it's a 6-figure portfolio, and you want to make it 7 figures, 8 figures. You're not going to do that buying spot Bitcoin. Like, unless you have millions of dollars already, you're not getting rich spot buying Bitcoin at these levels and selling them at all-time high. You're not getting rich buying Bitcoin at 30K and selling it at all-time high. Ethereum too, it's kind of expensive. I mean, like, let's say Ethereum goes to 10K from here, it's a 5X. 5X is a lot, but 5X of 10 grand is 50. I'm not saying that's not an amazing return. It's incredible. But if you're trying to turn 10 grand into 1 million, you're not going to do it being spot long Bitcoin or Ethereum. You guys aren't poor. You're all pre-rich because you're watching these streams. You're pre-rich. That's what it is. That's the term I was looking for. Now, that doesn't mean that what Bitcoin's going to do is irrelevant. I think, what Bitcoin does is supremely important, and we want to see it continue to go higher, because if we do get some sort of large correction pre the ETF, right? So maybe the ETF price appreciation's already happened and we're going to get some sort of correction down into here. Altcoins are going to get shit on, but there could be some really generational entries on some of these alts that have proven to be very strong. You're looking at Solanas, you're looking at Injectives, Tia, Celestia. You're looking at those kind of coins that have proven to be bonk, very strong. Good chance if we get a deep pullback, these coins are going to be ones that you could get really good entries on, right? Like, let's say Tia is going to $100, 10x from here. If Bitcoin pulls back 20% down to like 30K, Tia is getting smoked, but it will probably recover quite quickly if Bitcoin finds support and bounces. And we saw that last night. So that's kind of the concept I want to get into a little bit later, but let's just finish charting Bitcoin here. Now, zooming a little bit in on the weekly here, there's still nothing really to look at. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 green weeklies in a row. We still have this liquidity level here. We have a flat weekly bottom candle here. So and we have, this Monday's low. Maybe we run this into this fair value gap and then we go up. Maybe the low's already in. I don't really know, but there's not much to glean here on the weekly. Now, going down to the 12-hour, we have some stuff we can start to look at here from kind of a short-term trading perspective. So when we look down here at the 12-hour chart, I have a very clear 12-hour range. Here's your low, here's your high. Still a bullish range. This is a low to a high, so we're in an upswing, and we're effectively trying to time a higher low. If we're going to continue higher, what I want to see is a higher low form within this up leg. That's the entire thing that I'm trying to figure out here. If price is going to continue higher, it doesn't have to. How does an uptrend end? You have your higher low form, right? You have your higher low form. And then one of these times, you think the higher low is going to form, and then it doesn't. And now you have a trend shift. Now it's downtrending, or maybe we start going sideways. But the way that I trade, very simply, is I assume the trend is going to continue until it doesn't anymore. So unfortunately, the 12-hour range here is extremely large. It's almost $10,000. It's $8,000. There's no 12-hour bearish market structure shift until below 37,500. That's not very helpful if you're trying to get in early and figure out when this trend might be waning, turning around, etc. But I'm going to assume that the trend remains up until proven otherwise based on the H12. Now, can I find clues of when it might shift earlier? Sure. One of them is this. It's the first internal trend change. So as you see here, here's your 12-hour low, here's your 12-hour low, here's a 12-hour low, here's a 12-hour low, here's a 12-hour low, here's a 12-hour low. Not a single one of those broke market structure of the previous lows. So while the 12-hour market structure is here to here, here is a 12-hour low that has been shifted. So I would call this like an internal range market structure shift. It could be a clue of what's to come, but it's not enough yet. So you could look at the 4-hour or something, right? Where here is the 4-hour trend and we've broken it, right? There's your 4-hour swing low. Here's your 4-hour swing high. We've broken market structure on the 4-hour. So there is some potential clues of a market structure shift going on, but I'm going to assume, because 12 hours my kind of go-to high time frame, that this trend will continue until proven otherwise. If you look at the weekly, your swing low on the weekly is here. It is right here. And then this is your swing high. So on the weekly, we can come all the way down into the low 30s and still maintain bullish weekly market structure. On the monthly, we haven't even put in a swing high yet. But in theory, as long as we're trading above here, any sort of pullback has the potential to be a higher low on the monthly. That's where it gets a little tricky, because sometimes these higher time frame ranges can be quite huge, and you're trying to say, okay, well, is the trend over? And it's like, well, technically not. We can trade lower, lower, lower here, still be in a bullish H12 range, and then go higher. So what I see here on the 12-hour is we had an SFP, and I marked this out. And if you're in Telegram or if you're in the Haven, I marked out this 12-hour SFP, and I said, I'm not really interested in shorting, but we've got a 12-hour SFP. We could have a pullback. Mark your levels out. Let's look for bids. I probably should have been interested in shorting because it was a short trigger, and you can see the result of that 12-hour SFP playing out right here. Now, zooming in, we did have a H1 trigger as well, right? So you had your H1 right here. There's your zone. You had multiple sweeps within here. Sweep, market structure break, market structure break. So this is distribution happening, right? I've talked about this in previous videos, right? We're looking for distribution, sweeps, and then lows getting broken within the distribution. So there was a short here. I didn't take it, but I was prepared for there to be a pullback, but I kind of thought it might have been over, kind of here when we had this little bit of a sweep. I was like, okay, if we're really bullish, we just had a sweep here on Ethereum, because that's what I was looking at. I said, oh, we just put in a 12-hour sweep. So I actually took a long on Ethereum. I got stopped out like immediately, but we've had a pretty deep pullback here. We've now filled in this fair value gap. We're bottoming out here. We also have this 12-hour order block here that we spiked through, but it's kind of getting respected a little bit. But these wicks oftentimes in crypto, right, are largely driven by liquidations, right? People who are over levered, big OI wipe, bunch of licks happening. So you get that kind of exaggerated price action. Now, I'm looking at this and I'm saying, okay, we've come in, we've hit this fair value gap. We're seeing a bounce. I think based on the H12, at the very least, we come back and we retest here. So I don't know if we dump from here, but I think we retest this gray. Now the question is are we going to retest it from right here? Just keep grinding up like we are? Or are we going to get one of those like this, right? Where it dumps, it grinds up. You think it's going to go all the way back to the high, and then it dumps again, and then it goes back to the high, right? So on the low time frame, kind of a little more clear, right? You say, okay, here's the low, right? Here's the low. It's going to trade up. And then maybe it makes another low and then goes up. I don't really know. But I think looking at this right now, it looks like we're holding that low. This looks like a decently strong move. I do think we come and retest this gray box. Now, what I'm prepared to do is within this gray box, I'm willing to short if I get a trigger. So if we come up into this gray box and we put in any sort of SFP and then market structure break on like the hourly, or better yet, if we swept a 12-hour high in here, I would probably short and I would target down here. That's just a purely technical trade. In terms of my bias, I still would like to see us trade higher. So I don't love, the Bitcoin setup here. I think there was better trades to be taken. But looking at the 12-hour, to me, after running this low here, the next draw, I think, is back into this gray box. And then we got to kind of see what's going to happen. So this rally could continue a little bit longer. I know some of you are mentioning where's Monday's low. I talked about this, right? Like we could run Monday's low. If we run Monday's low and then reclaim, then that's a long, right? Simple as that. That's a long I'll take 9 out of 10 times. And then guess where Monday's high is? Right in that gray box. So I'll be watching this quite closely. I bought a little bit of spot yesterday. I bought some spot Bitcoin down here. I bought some spot Ethereum around 2,000. I bought some Solana, I think at like 65. So I got some decent entries, but I don't have like a stop loss, in mind for those positions at this point. I'm going to be watching very closely over the next day or two and then deciding if I want to hold those trades or if I think I might be able to get better entries. So for now on Bitcoin, those are kind of the levels that I'm watching here. I'm watching Monday's low, and then I'm watching this gray box and potentially Monday's high, and then we will kind of see what happens. Another little cool thing you can do here, a lot of times you're going to get these little runs, right? And these are super scary to buy. I understand, right? Like when this candle was in the making here, like if we replay this, like if you're watching that live, you're shitting your pants. Like you're like, holy shit, it's fucking over. Like that's scary. So it's very difficult sometimes to buy into that candle. Like that's a very, very, very ballsy buy. But a lot of times when we have these, massive uptrends, you get these bull market, right? Or these, these large and quick down moves, and they end up being really, really good fucking buys. And they recover pretty quickly. So here's a little tip. If you miss this initial spike, how you can get in. So Ethereum was a really good example. If you go here, when you see the initial spike happen, what I want you to do is take your fib from the low to the high, right? The next swing high that gets formed. So you mark out the low, and then you put in your second level of your fib, right? At the swing high that forms after, and mark out your 61.8, your 78.6. So I call this is the OTE from ICT, 62, 70.5, and the 79. And if you miss that initial spike, a lot of times we'll get one deep retest before another bounce. So this works really well on these kind of crazy dumps where you're like, oh, I wish I would have bought this wick, right? Because then what a lot of people end up doing is they end up buying when this candle closes like this, and then it bleeds back down. What do? You end up closing that because you're underwater, and then it bounces back up and you would have been able to break even. Whereas here, you wait for that bounce to happen, and then you wait for that bleed back down into this area here, the 62 to the 79.5. And this could have just been a day trade. This is just Ethereum. It's up 4%. You go look at Inge, AVAX, Sol, some of those other coins that are a lot more reflexive right now. They're bouncing 10, 20% off the lows. So this is something that I see all the fucking time. I used to do this all the time. We would have a big scary wick. I wouldn't have the balls to buy it. Price would bounce super hard. I'd say, oh shit, the bottom's in. So I'm longing here. And then it would bleed. And I'd go, oh, fuck, never mind. The bottom's not in. I close. And then it bounces again, right? So this is a really good thing to go test out. And what I want you guys to do is go look at some of these coins like TIA, right? Like if you look at TIA here, it made a new high. So where Bitcoin and Ethereum made a lower high here, TIA is already making new highs. But if you pull your fib, same thing from here to here, shallower pullback, but it's the same idea. You're not getting in at this level here, but you're still getting a very nice entry. Same thing with Inge. Pull your fib from here to here. So you were scared to buy this candle. Okay, wait for it to form a range and then try and buy as close to or below the 50% as possible. Because you're going to, right? A lot of people are going to see TIA do this, make a new high. They're going to say, holy shit, it's going to the moon. They're going to buy here. And then this is going to happen. They're going to close, and then the move that they wanted to be in is going to happen. So when you're looking at moves like this that we've had on Bitcoin and Ethereum, these big ass dumps, one of the first things you need to be doing is you need to be going through your altcoin list, and you need to see which altcoins are recovering the hardest and the fastest. Because maybe you longed those dips. Maybe you longed TIA at 9 and you longed Inge sub 20, and now you're printing like fucking a madman. Maybe. But when you identify the TIAs, Inge, AVAX, all these coins were super reflexive back to the upside. They all made new highs where Bitcoin and Ethereum and other coins were not. I think even Solana didn't make a new high, right? But Solana bounced way harder off the bottom. It's up 15%. Ethereum's up 4, right? So the advantage there is now you know what coins, if you're day trading, so if you're trading on the lower time frames, those are the coins you need to be trading. And if we get a bigger correction in the future, like Bitcoin dumps 25% or something crazy, those are the markets that you want to probably be paying attention to and looking for dip buys, because they have proven to be extremely reflexive to the upside when the market corrects back up. And yeah, you're sometimes going to long the coin that doesn't bounce. Look, I longed Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Sol. Bitcoin's up 4%. Ethereum's up fucking 4%. Solana's up 15, but fucking TIA from the low, it's up 40, right? So like there's always going to be a coin that's up more, but it's your job to try and identify these markets. And those are the ones that you want to try and pay attention to. Those are the ones you want to mark down, say, okay, these markets seem to be very strong markets. Like, I mean, TIA's about to go to 12 bucks right now. We're still trading below 42. We're trading at 44 and prices were lower. Yeah, AVAX up a bunch, right? So these are the type of things that you want to pay attention to when we have those big wipeouts. What markets are reacting the most strong? Okay, those are probably good markets to day trade and to look to buy on dips. This is a 15-minute chart here on TIA. We have a 20% dump. We have a 17% move up. We have a 12% move up. Here's a 12% move down. Here's an 8% move up. Here's an 11% move down. Here's a fucking 15% move up. Here's a 15% drop followed by a 25% pump. There's another double-digit pump. Another double-digit pump. This is a 15-minute chart. And this is showing price action for the last 6 days. If you're day trading and you want to be finding opportunities for volatility, you want to be in and out of the market, are you wanting to be looking at Ethereum and Bitcoin right now? Or do you want to be looking at TIA? Do you want to be looking at INJ? Do you want to be looking at AVAX? These coins that are giving you, they're showing you the volatility there. There's so much money to be made day trading if that's what you're trying to do in these types of markets. So that's advantage number one. Advantage number two is when we get those big corrections, good money to be made buying the dip on these coins as opposed to buying the dip on fucking some shitty coin that you've been, hoping is just going to change its mind. Like if you bought the dip on Unibot, you're going to say, well, where's the bounce? It didn't even bounce at all. This barely bounced at all. Sui barely bounced at all. Solana, decent bounce. Bonk, pretty decent bounce, right? But some of these are very disproportionately strong relative to others. And that's the type of thing that you want to be focusing on and looking for if you're trying to day trade or if you're trying to identify strong markets that you want to be in. These are the spot coins. Another really good one I think was SNX. These coins, look at SNX here. Look at how this recovered. Here's the low. We're up 20%. This looks like it's about to make a new high. Meanwhile, Bitcoin and Ethereum are still trading. Ethereum is still 8% below its high. Bitcoin is still 7-8% below its high. So those are the types of things you as the trader need to focus on and find if you're trying to day trade or if you're trying to get yourself positioned in stronger markets. Again, if you're trying to turn a little bit of money into a lot, you want to be getting yourselves into these coins that are going up a whole lot more than the rest of the market. Yeah, so it seems like the new Sol Luna AVAX is INJ and Celestia, Incel, or you could have T INJ AVAX, right? So TIA, INJ, AVAX, those are all ripping. But the coins that I like, right? I like right now in terms of volatility and strength. I really like Sol, obviously still. I like TIA. I like INJ. I like AVAX. I think SNX is another good market. So there's a handful there that you can play with and pay attention to, and I think have proven to be very strong and have proven to be really, really volatile. And that's kind of all that fucking matters. You've been bearish since September. You've been getting fisted. There's no two ways about it. Bears haven't been right in the slightest in the last year outside of very small windows of time. And since September, they've been getting absolutely butt fucked, and do not let them convince you of anything otherwise. That's very strong language, and I apologize if there's any kids listening. This little lip caterpillar. More perv stash, more neck as thick as ever. I promise you that. There's a little bit of flexing. There's a little bit of gratuitous dick sucking. Not unless you're paying me, bro. Self-fellatio, as they like to say. Any good questions in here? Just Jane saying a bunch of stupid shit that no one cares about. There's another coin that I could have longed and I didn't. Oh, yeah. I literally posted this. Oh, that's painful. How are you preparing for the ETF as someone that isn't the smartest when it comes to fundamentals? Are you saying I'm stupid? Are you calling yourself stupid? Because the answer to both is yes. You took the AVAX trade because of me. Fuck you, dude. Shut the fuck up. This chart is... Okay, we had Peter Schiff, Peter Pumpkin Eater, Peter the tweeter deleter. How come guys named Peter suck ass on Twitter? Peter Brandt, clown. Peter Schiff, clown. Peter Pan, a fairy, literally. You actually hold those all in snow, man. I'm just making it up.